Welcome back, everyone. This is Seth Gisbos of Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame Healing Arts, and Occult Science. I have stepped back for the last few months, finally now at the juncture of being able to start presenting things now for 2019. To all of our initiates that are focused on their path work, focused on their progression, I just want to put out a fuck yeah. The reports I keep getting back are undeniably powerful. And in light of what is meant to unfold now, moving towards the end of the first quarter of 2019, this is something that I've been wanting to get into for years. And I'm really fucking excited to dive into this with you and give you my take on the art, the science of the tarot. And just as each stone or spring of herb, everything in our reality field has its own unique energies and magical attributes. With this now, I'm here to get into the magic of the tarot in this segment, and so too with the cards of the tarot. They also all individually have their own unique sound song frequency of consciousness. Its images basically represent a full range of symbols, emotions, concepts, archetypes, and energies of purely human consciousness. And now, see, in light of all this, the tarot is a very powerful medium for magic. And I've been talking about how I've been wanting to get into teaching magic here on Black Earth Productions, and this is going to be the very first thing I dive into this year, again going into the first quarter of 2019. And as I've stated to our current initiates who have worked with me one-on-one, the tarot can be utilized for literally any magical goal or objective if you use it correctly. Now mind you, the tarot can be used to attract, to bind, to banish, to combine, to separate. The tarot can be used to create, and it could also be used to fucking destroy. For all you motherfucking warriors out there. Think about all the obstacles that you're up against in your fucking life. All the challenges, all the setbacks, all the fucking delays, all of the lessons of Saturn specifically. That if you use the tarot correctly, the tarot can also be used to calm you in the midst of the storm, within the fulcrum of the circle of the magician. The tarot can be used to empower the individual or unleash fucking chaos. So in light of what I'm getting at here, the most important way to work with the tarot, as far as I'm concerned, is so that you become the master of your existence and personal development on the true magical path. And by working with the cards in various ways, they are made to symbolize your magical intentions, which are then conveyed out into the wider world and also activate within the subconscious grid works within the mind field of the individual. And so with the eternal axiom in context to the law of correspondence, as above, so below, is the exact same thing again as the as within, as without, which also absolutely rings true for tarot magic. And really just as it does for any other magical operation when it comes to the universal laws of metaphysics. And by taking action outwardly, working with the tarot to what you intend to happen, the inner threads upon the web of weird and the spindle of the energy force work to weave things that are in alignment. And thus reality is trained to work into a better position that is more conducive to the manifestation of your intention. Now, one of the number one fucking things that you need to recognize when it comes to magic is that it works both on the metaphysical and mundane levels. Okay? And it's not to negate your material existence. You need to be in the position to be mastering your material existence before you start getting into fucking magic on a metaphysical level. Because the minute you start messing with things on that level and you haven't not laid the proper foundation, then it can actually have a reverse effect as far as I'm concerned, with what I've experienced myself and also what I've seen with other individuals out there. So in one sense, a magical intention is like what certain individuals would say is prayer. Okay? And although I'm not going to use that term personally, again, it's about the intention and your evocation and your action all working on the same trajectory. And it's also the why that needs to be considered, which is driving and fueling the causal factors to which our true power for any sort of real magic cannot be coming from a place of unwarranted fear, which is also going to be reinforced if you're fucking with certain forces and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And none out there, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be more powerful than working with the higher force itself. And it's also to know that its primary concern is for us to believe in ourselves, to which the conscious mind field needs to be trained into such a caliber that it's something that the unconscious and subconscious mind fields have already been working to yield in manifestation, with the seeds of intention that have been planted there within your inner fields and system mechanics. This is also going to be determined by your behavior and your fucking attitude, which will also adjust to assist in bringing things into reality with your magical intentions. Examples of this are, of course, endless when it comes to the spectrums of our reality field. Remember though, in truth, you're doing magic all the time whether you want to recognize it or not. And so it's to recognize this fact and come to the place of wanting to learn how to master it. Otherwise, it is being manipulated against you in context to many things here. Because whatever message you are sending out to the universe in context to what you want, see again, you need to be in alignment. Because if you're not, or you still have yet to pass through the preliminary phases of initiation onto the true magical path, which is also what the Major Arcana reveals with the first 10 cards. You're also going to need to remind yourself on a consistent basis that this new reality is indeed possible and can be known and can be achieved as a result. And see, with this, you're going to have more confidence and fresh motivation the more that you do this, taking action on your intentions in integrity, even if it takes up to days, weeks, months, or even years to start to see what you have intended manifest. Action with true magic is required in context to the path work that we are forging here at Black Earth Productions. This isn't some hocus pocus bullshit, wave a motherfucking magic wand, and then something fucking happens. That's not how true magic works. It takes time. And some things take longer than others, okay? Which in turn is also going to greatly improve your chances for manifesting your intentions if you remain focused and you don't ever allow yourself to give the fuck up. You must plant your seeds within the realm of darkness and ignorance into the unknown for them to bring forth the roots that you need in order to wield the light of proper knowledge and wisdom that is hidden there. Magic is indeed real, but remember, it's also very practical. And cultivating patience when doing ritual is absolutely necessary, even when working with the tarot specifically in this fashion. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there are right ways to work with the tarot, and there are many, many, many fucking wrong ways to actually work with it. Which, to what I see, a lot of people that are readers don't actually realize what they're doing. But if certain things are known and eventually mastered on a certain level, each act of tarot magic in context can be a unique design best to carry out the working at hand. And see, I'm not just talking about using the tarot for divination. I'm talking about actual fucking magic here, which is not the same thing as doing a reading. Although I have, without fail, since I've started doing readings again with our services, 100% of them have been dead on accurate, given over to the technique revealed to me by the Norns themselves. It's been very powerful when they respond to what's been revealed. And I've been on both sides of the equation myself and have worked with the tarot for many, many decades now. But I am by no means self-proclaimed, and am held accountable to what I do. And see, with all of this art and science is very, very sacred to me personally. Again, there are many, many wrong fucking ways to work with the tarot. So what are its secrets? What are its attributes that we still have yet to tap into in our current hour as magicians now? Where are we taking these arts and sciences? How much deeper are we going to be able to go getting into all this stuff? Taking the work of the ancestors, which is there within our blood, even further now, in the hour that we find ourselves in at present. In light of this, there are many people that don't know what the fuck they're actually doing when they work with the tarot. Fucking up people's lives. Whether or not they're coming at things from a virtuous standpoint, again, without proper knowledge and fucking wisdom, you're gonna fuck yourself up. And see, again, the tarot still has far more to reveal than what most practitioners out there have fully realized yet still. And once you come into trajectory with its versatility, it is one of the most beautiful and the most effective and powerful tools for magic in context to the universal laws of metaphysics, as it highlights one-of-a-kind perspectives and essence of the individual like few other magical tools actually do. And because the way we all actually relate to the tarot is highly unique to the individual, it is to say that it's not the same with any one person out there. One of the tarot's main secrets that it has revealed to me. The tarot also provides an endless host of options and possibilities and probabilities and stargates in context to self-mastery. And once you have mastered the fundamentals, also along with the other arts and sciences that are meant to be worked with the tarot, which are many, if you master the fundamentals, everything else you do is going to fucking rise. And then, of course, taking action on your intention like I've been talking about, and like so many other people at the forefront are fucking talking about. Whether your evocations are detailed and poetic or straight to the fucking point, interestingly enough, it's to know also that the tarot can be used as a talisman, in which case even a single card can be charged and used in a variety of different ways. Again though, you have to know what you're doing. And there are many, many different ways to work with the tarot when it comes to magic. And learning how to master your thought and emotion in context to the imagination, which is the imagination, is really what I'm working to drive forth in this segment. And it is a question of whether or not your intentions are in alignment with your true core essence and wisdom or not. Because the last thing I think any of us want to do is end up manifesting some fucked up shit in our lives, or going and doing some fucking reading for someone and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Which can happen and does fucking happen if things are not done correctly. Thinking that a certain thing is what we want, when in truth it's not in alignment whatsoever, as in the case of consciousness streamlining from the lower astral grid works in context to the overlay of the etheric body. Which is why doing shadow work and healing and initiation into the occult, onto the true magical path, embracing the alchemical aspect of the initiation is absolutely necessary before working with the tarot on this level in context of magic. Now this is all designed in order to bridge consciousness on the first two spirals of creation to what I term the solar and the galactic spiral. What the tarot actually is here in context is the bridge point between the solar and the galactic spiral. And see, everyone's into this galactic spiral shit. All of the aliens and the angels and the demons and the archons and the whatever the fuck else people talk about. And they don't even know who the fuck they are. They don't even know how to navigate reality where they stand here, getting sucked into all of this shit happening on a multidimensional level, and are getting tricked and are getting pulled into what has been termed host fields, where you are getting your consciousness siphoned and harvested, and the human consciousness that is there on the bridge in order to expand needs to be mastered before you get into things on the galactic spiral level. Now mind you, I have mentioned that I have ancient Syrian B genetics from the third seeding. But so fucking what? What matters is what the fuck we are doing here present in our reality field here in Midgard. That is what the fuck matters. Not all of this shit happening on the galactic spiral, not yet. And see, this is all the trick of the dark gods. This is all the fucking play of those that are manipulating these arts and sciences against us on a daily fucking basis. Which is why I wanted to make this fucking video. Which is why I've been wanting to get into my take on the tarot and what the tarot actually is. And so in order to bridge consciousness on the first two spirals of creation, you have to master navigation before you're able to be in the position to start building that bridge out onto the galactic spiral of creation. You have to become fucking sovereign. The minute you start having interface with shit, and then you get pulled out into all of this whacked out, new age hippie fest fucking bullshit, you people still have no fucking clue what's actually going on. And you're caught in the throngs of what I term the labyrinth. Other very advanced metaphysicians have also used this term. But it is to make a note here to this fact. And see, the main way I'm getting into things in context of what the fuck I'm saying is when the individual is drawing the circle of the magician. So for those that have already been initiated and have been working to master drawing your circle, again, this is one of the protocol teachings when it comes to the blue flame healing arts or the occult science. So further, for those that have been working to remember and working to heal and working to come into these things for the first time in this life, again, the circle is basically a sphere of protective energy that is cast around you in ritual in a specific area prior to any magical working or magic ritual. And its purpose is to keep the desired energies within it and ground you to your core, and to keep the undesired energies outside of this protective field of energy. And the real secret here with the circle is to consistently be within the fulcrum. And the more you do it, the more powerful your circle and your auric field become. One of the easiest ways to see this in nature, the hurricane itself is the epitome of what the circle of the magician is all about. And even with those that have given reports back to me that simply started practice in drawing it, have already experienced more than most of the people out there that I hear still in the throngs of the goddamn fucking labyrinth. And see, even with the circle, you haven't even crossed the threshold into the real game of what the fuck is going on. As it was said by the ancients, that the wizards of old were able to travel the stars. And here in our present hour, it is no different. And I myself can attest to this. So in context to what I'm saying here, I've had very, very powerful reports come back from individuals that are doing this for real. And it works. If you want something that works, and what you've been doing so far up to this present moment hasn't been working for you, try this. Just try it. Just experiment and watch what happens. Again, I'm not just speaking from personal experience. I didn't just read this shit in a fucking book or got online and heard somebody talk about this shit. This is what I practice, and this is what the fuck I live. And I'm at the point of overflow in my personal practice to assist those that are ready to lay the proper foundation for this path work in order to bridge worlds, in order to integrate higher consciousness beyond everything that we are dealing with here in this reality field that's manipulating these arts and sciences against us. It's going to be very important for you getting to the point where you're going to start doing some real fucking magic to know what the tarot actually is. And will be there for you to consider in context to the progression that you are going to go through as an individual. Whether you come into these arts or sciences or not, life is life. And if you want a map, and if you want a bridge, then pay attention to what I'm going to get into further as I continue. It's going to make the process easier by concentrating the magic power from within yourself to minimize any sort of distractions when you are doing ritual. There are various ways that one can cast the circle of the magician. a few while using a dagger or a sword. To what I mentioned in the segment I made, getting into some of the most basic fundamentals with this, but more so from within yourself, sacrificing yourself unto yourself. It is for this purpose, through a proper foundation, that it has to be mastered on a certain level before you start doing magic. And after you reach the level that I'm talking about, you can start doing some very, very powerful things as a magician, which can start to be utilized on a deeper level in your ritual. So also upon your altar, this is one of the major ways I work with the tarot, doing altar magic specifically, which is another very, very powerful technique that I personally utilize with my personal path work, working with the tarot, so that the rituals that I do within the fulcrum continue afterwards as I am taking action towards certain goals and objectives. And after the energy has been cultivated to manifest what has been set forth as intention within the ritual. So with this again, the tarot is a very, very powerful, versatile, convenient, and easy to use medium for many types of magical, spiritual, and practical endeavors. Whether you're simply meditating within the circle in order to heighten your sense and spiritual awareness, or you were doing many, many other things in context to ritual, including manifestation. So whether or not you're using the circle of the magician along with the tarot, both are for the purpose of setting forth intention before you start to take action on things. And listen, this is also a major fucking way that your actions are going to be protected. It's not like running out and you're on fucking E. Do you ever notice that? Have you ever tried to go out and make something fucking happen, but it's not ever fucking happening? Why is that? Because you're not taking time to pull the fuck back and build up the energy necessary in order to start magnetizing to you what it is that you have set forth as intention. See, people got it backwards nowadays. They think they're going to run out and make shit fucking happen. And they haven't fucking healed themselves, and they haven't fucking learned the secrets of how things actually fucking work. They haven't done any study or fucking research. They're just hanging on the fucking empty words of motherfuckers that are still caught in the motherfucking labyrinth, thinking that they know some fucking shit, and nothing has changed. Look at their fucking lives. Look at the way someone lives. I don't give a fuck what they think to say about anything. How do they actually live? I don't give a shit about fucking Arcturus or fucking Andromeda and all this fucking shit. You're not even ready for that motherfucking level. You don't even know who the fuck you are. And see, I'm coming at it really fucking hard now because I'm tired of magicians failing in context to their magical intentions and their magical fucking workings. Also the fucking fact that you're passing off the fucking buck of your responsibility to tap into that magic that is there within you, and thinking that you're going to get some kind of power from some disembodied fucking spirit that doesn't have the balls to fucking incarnate and learn how to master human consciousness. We are at the apex trajectory here in Midgard, and it's the actions that we are taking right now that need to be protected. And this is one of the major ways that you can protect your actions as you are venturing forth. And it's undoubted for me that one of the many things that we need to learn how to master are also unveiled by the tarot itself. And without mastering the basics when it comes to the universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms, our true occult history, people want to argue the history of the tarot and say it goes back to Egypt. But the tarot, just itself alone, as an art and science, is far, far more fucking ancient than we could possibly imagine. And our goal here is to become complete humans. Complete humans first, so that we know how to navigate the worlds and universes like the wizards of old. So that we can continue the work of the ancestors now and take it to the next fucking level. Working to refine and sharpen our skills as magicians. I don't give a fuck who's talking about it. Who the fuck is actually living it? And see, I fucking live this shit 24/7. what is happening now and the opportunity that we are coming into because of the closing of the 5th cycle. Where are we going to take these things now? A lot of the ways that individuals are working with the tarot is actually extremely limited in context to what the tarot itself has revealed to me. And I still research and study this art and science from other individuals' perceptions as well. But it's far more than just a simple card game or divination device or whatever else people think it is. It's not just a storehouse of esoteric proper knowledge and spiritual wisdom. In truth, it is alive and is a living art and science, and shows us how we can become the master of the bridge between the solar and the galactic spirals of creation. And it's like I've said over and over in this segment, it was said that the wizards of old were able to travel the stars and the worlds and the universes, as I've been able to also travel the stars, the worlds. So even in our time now, this is possible. And this isn't in context to any sort of back-engineered technology, secret space program, fucking horseshit that does not acknowledge that the heavens above are within us. See, that's not how you travel. You do not get into a rocket ship to go to fucking Mars. You don't get into a fucking rocket ship to go to the fucking moon. You don't get into a fucking rocket ship to go to the nearest star, which is how many millions of fucking light years away? That's not how you travel. So to this, in form, I am expressing the ever-growing need and the ever-changing magical and occult philosophy as we have been charged to reinstate what was once lost in light of the ancestors and to take things to the next levels. This is my charge with them. And as you explore and study the tarot for yourselves, you will also start to develop your own insights and ideas for how to interpret these cards and how to use them for other magical or spiritual purposes. Because all of this does indeed come down to a personal gnosis, a personal pathwork. And again, how you truly relate to the tarot as an individual is 100% unique, given to what I teach our initiates in our mystery school. We are not in a different position than the ancestors were at one time, whose revolutionary work has developed into today's standard in context to these arts and sciences. The question arises though, where the fuck are we going to take these things now? Where are we going to take it? And so now with this, it is important to know that the tarot is organic and holistic. Just as individuals work to create different things from the same ingredients, so too does each individual lend their own unique flavor to the process here. Your unique sound song frequency of consciousness. And being open to other people's ideas and taking the time to study traditional tarot is all well and good. And it's something I encourage when it comes to all of this. But ultimately, and above all else, we must also allow the true inner heart core intelligence that is there within us to guide us, especially when working with the tarot as one of the most ancient pure guides we could ever hope to embrace to assist the outworking of specific manifestations in action. Again, this is my personal take on the art and science of the tarot. And there's a lot of very, very fucking powerful things that the tarot has revealed to me. And see, the best way to study the tarot is to actually study tarot and listen with your physical ears, but your inner ear, your inner first eye, seeing from that perception is what I'm getting at here. All of this goes much deeper than looking at it from a superficial surface level. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break now for the first time in this segment. I encourage everyone to check out the website here at blackearthproductionswithaz.com. That's the purpose of this platform, so that you can get a hold of the valuable proper knowledge that is unique to you. Again, this isn't some cookie cutter modality. This is all about unveiling the secrets of the universe that are there from within you to untap. This is Seth Esposa, Black Earth Productions. I will be right back. Back now from our first break. This is Seth Esposa with The Art and Science of the Tarot, Seed of Light Within the Darkness. And so to continue now, getting further into things. One of the main points that I got into before the break that I want to touch upon here again is the fact that the tarot is the bridge between the solar and the galactic spiral creation. As we all know, there are 78 cards in the tarot. Now, 78 reduced is 6, which is also 9, going back to the single digit code. Everything we do here in practice at Black Earth Productions all goes back to the single digit code in context. So 78 cards reduced, which is 6, is also the 9, because 3, 9, and 6 are all interchangeable within the single digit code. 7 is also 9. And unless 0 and 9 are in alignment, then you are caught within the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. Which is also illustrated in the fucking tarot. There are so many fucking things that I can get into here. You think about all of the cards. 78 cards to work with. Major and minor arcana. And see, another thing is people want to dive into the sword and science and they think they're going to learn it in a week. It has taken me over 20 fucking years to get to the level that I'm at. And I started working with the tarot when I was 13 years old. And the way that I was taught, the way that I worked with it back in the day, really fucked me up. Because I did not have access to the viable, proper knowledge and wisdom that I'm sharing with you today, right now. So, once the cards reach 9, they spiral out onto the galactic spiral of creation and then collapse back in on the spindle of the energy force with the first 10 cards, 0 through 9 of the major arcana, with other corresponding cards. This is the bridge that we are working to build again, as within, as without. And again, what we are working to master here in context to the tarot itself is self-mastery of human consciousness. The symbolism, the archetypes, everything to do with it is purely human. And so with this, in light of what I'm getting at here, you're not going to be able to travel the worlds on the level that I'm talking about until you become the master of yourself, a sovereign being here in Midgard. You think you have access pass to other worlds, to other universes? You came to this world, motherfucker. Again, this is not the pathwork of spiritual escapism. This is the pathwork of spiritual self-mastery. And the tarot can show you how to create this bridge from within yourself so that you will be in the position to blast the fuck off, integrate, and then be able to convey and share what has been revealed to you. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes focus. It takes accountability. And you will come up against your greatest motherfucking fears going into the initiations of the alchemical transmutation and transfiguration. And everything I teach prior to getting into the tarot with my initiates is all designed to lay the proper foundation for this pathwork before you venture forth. And the way we're ultimately going to be able to relate to the tarot again is highly unique given over to your personal disposition on the solar spiral of creation. So get away from any sort of cookie cutter modalities that limit your exploration of your system mechanics when it comes to this specific art and science. Because again, it is not the same for everybody out there. Now, in spite of this, there are specific blinders that have been put there by the Dark Ones to invert and twist some of the things to manipulate this art and science. But getting into the science and numerology of what the 396 actually is, and covers the basis and gridworks of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind field, with the outworking of eternity into the present now. Again, we take everything back in practice to the single-digit code. And those that don't work with the single-digit code are working within a closed-loop system and distorted mathematics also as a result when you work with the tarot. Now, when working with the single-digit code in context, it is absolutely 100% fucking flawless to what I've been able to develop with my own method, remembering how to master working with this art and science. And it's inverted otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, knowing what I know. So again, the tarot is comprised of 78 cards. 22 of them make up what's known as the major arcana. These cards basically represent universal symbolism or the inner worlds and archetypes and various concepts and context to sound, consciousness, energy, frequency, and vibration. Again, as I'm stressing in this segment, the tarot has everything to do with the symbolism and archetypes of human consciousness. It's not alien, it's not demonic, it's purely fucking human. And so to the remaining 56 cards of the minor arcana, These are also to do with the court cards, which are the page, the knight, the queen, the king, and there's also the aces, and there's also the suits, which are 1 through 10, and are numbered and divided into 4 suits. Instead of hearts, the tarot has cups. Instead of spades, the tarot has swords. Instead of diamonds, the tarot has pentacles. Instead of clubs, the tarot has wands. So with the court cards, each suit has cards numbered. Again, the aces through 10, plus 4 more cards with each suit, which are the court cards, the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. With this, cups is water, wands is fire, swords is air, and pentacles is earth. Now, before I started reading in the fashion that I am now and how I just taught it, it's interesting, but I actually came across the reference that confirmed how I used to work with the tarot, which was putting wands as air and swords as fire. So depending on which deck you get out there, this is also going to be determined in how you choose to read and also how you choose to work with the tarot. How I work with it now, wands is fire and swords is air. That is how I am working with it. And being aware of elemental correspondence in the tarot deck makes card interpretation that much more powerful in light of the symbolism and what it also means with each suit of the minor arcana. Each element has its own themes and other associations that are reflected in each of the tarot cards belonging to the corresponding suits. And then it bleeds out from there when you start working in context to the major arcana with it. So again, if you are hearing this for the first time, or you're already familiar with these associations, this is the best way to gauge things as far as I'm concerned. And although not every tarot deck out there is necessarily the same, it's to keep in mind that different decks may assign the suits and elemental alignments differently. You will get the best results by utilizing whatever system of correspondence has been chosen with the particular deck that you are using. And if you're just starting out getting into the art and science of the tarot, I'm going to recommend that you get the Radiant Rider-Waite deck. And the reason why is because it's one of the most pure decks out there in context to the original symbolism and archetypes of the tarot. Even though it does have a few blinders, which I share with those who are being initiated into the blue flame healing arts and occult science. The tarot is one of the most ancient, pure guides that we could ever hope to work with in context to what true magic is all about. And see, it's not about the spirits or invocation with anything that I'm talking about here. Now, in addition to what I'm getting at, you're going to get a pretty good idea of the thrust of each numbered card with the minor arcana. But before I can get into what I want to share in this segment in context to 0, there are some things to consider here in context to the numerology of the minor arcana specifically. Now, 1. What does 1 represent? Well, 1 represents unity. It represents wholeness. It represents the pure, essential essence of the element that's being represented. Now, 2. What does 2 represent? 2 represents dualistic aspects, needing to balance and bring together. 2 is everything to do with division. This is everything to do with the diplomat. This is to do with reconciliation and mastering the law of polarity specifically. Now, number 3. What does 3 represent? 3 here represents engaging in activity, suggested by the element that's being represented. This is to do with creation. This is to do with expression. 4 now is everything to do with putting things into form. It's the holding, it's the structuring, and lining things out correctly. This is what 4 is all about. Now 5 is everything to do with chaos versus control, or even deeper, 5 is where you start to learn how to really become the master of yourself and deal with that imbalance on a whole other fucking level. In context to 2, this is all that inner hierarchy bullshit when it comes to systems of domination and control. And number 6 is to do with beauty. It's to do with perfection. It's to do with peace, harmony. It's to do with solutions. Okay? 7 is everything to do with dreams, desires, the wants, the hopes, and the luck, specifically in context to the psychosomatic northern soul complex. And if you guys haven't checked out that fucking video yet, you need to go check out that video along with every single other fucking video on this channel, and let other people know about Black Earth Productions and get this out. Now I'm working to take things to the next level, but this is something I'm going to directly ask, get the fucking word out harder. Now next is the number 8. This is everything about putting an essential idea into practice. It's the power or strength aspect of the element. It's about being fucking real, and this is what the 8 here reveals in light of what I'm sharing with you at the moment. Now again, in context to the art and science and numerology, the numbers mean many, many, many different things depending on the actual mathematical equations you are working with in context to the single digit code. Now 9, what does 9 mean? 9 is everything to do with endings. It's everything to do with cycles. It's everything to do with filing away and putting into place and bringing whatever is symbolized to a head. Okay, there's a binding aspect here with the 9. There's a solidification here also in context to the spindle of the energy force, where you come to the end of the cycles that put you into the place, keeping you away from being the master of the spindle of the energy force itself. And again, you have to be in alignment in context to wield things correctly. The last number I want to get into here in light of what I'm sharing at the moment is 10. Now what does 10 represent? 10 is the fucking apex, the most extreme or pure expression of the element that's being presented. It's the excess, it's the completion. Now all of this is intertwined in and of itself, okay? It's not to compartmentalize any of this in context to the elements and the working with the minor arcana specifically. And it's like I've said, we are at the apex here in Midgard in our reality field. And so now it's important to take note in light of what I just shared that I don't want anyone to necessarily get stuck on this specifically per se, as it only reveals a fraction of the tarot symbolism. It's just to keep in mind that if you do get stuck with anything, that this could be a quick reference to go over with things within yourself. Now, as one example, getting into things here, I'm going to share, let's see, let's get into the Three of Pentacles, okay? Now, what is the Three of Pentacles? Pentacles can represent many different things. Most equate pentacles to do with wealth and resources, right? Again, that to me is a superficial way of looking at the symbolism here. Pentacles to me on an esoteric level is all about unearthing proper knowledge and wisdom in a practical, down-to-earth way, which is going to give you the proper knowledge and wisdom in order to manifest wealth, in order to manifest resources. Okay, this is what the pentacle actually fucking is. It's that proper knowledge and wisdom, that practical magic, which will show you how to manifest these things. And mastering your material existence is part of this path work. Again, get away from all the spiritual escapism. Get away from the idea that you're somehow more spiritual because you reject the material world. You're fucking not. You are here. And you are either going to become the master of your existence or be a slave for fear to the material realm if this isn't fucking recognized. Also, if you're a greedy motherfucking bastard or self-entitled, immature, wanton craptard who holds the idea that others or the world, let alone the universe, owe you a fucking living because you don't have the courage to take responsibility for your existence, well, guess the fuck what? Magic is never, ever going to work for you. Get over yourself. It ain't gonna fucking happen. I am holding all of our initiates accountable to what I just fucking said. Granted, we are all going to have challenges in life, but it's about learning how things actually fucking work. And so to wield the secrets of the fucking universe, again, it is very, very unique to the individual. And this is for the purpose of learning how to manifest what you need so that you have time to focus and devote yourself to study with the universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms. And, and I'm fucking serious about this. And if people can't catch what I am saying here, again, it's all about your state of mind. Take it back to the first cosmic law. And so Pentacles, again, for me as a sigil, represents wisdom. So much like Odin, again, sacrificing yourself unto yourself. This is how you make shit happen, and this is how wisdom will show you how to make things happen. And so any knowledge, whether it is proper or otherwise, without wisdom, it is dead letter, useless bullshit. But it is proper knowledge here in context that is going to lead to the knowing of wisdom of the tarot. And not just with the tarot, but as the formula with literally everything in life in context to self-mastery. So, for another example here, let's go with the Eight of Cups. We see that the Eight of Cups can also represent realism and practicality. It's important to know that all of the elements are kind of ebbing and flowing in on themselves. The way we learn about the elements with the tarot is to compartmentalize these things into the suits. So again, Cups is water, relates specifically to water magic, and learning how to master your emotion specifically. One of the meanings shown here by the Eight of Cups is the idea of moving on from toxic relationships that are no longer nurturing, or let alone destroying your fucking life. So in other words, being practical and realistic when it comes to love and emotion is some of what the Eight of Pentacles reveals. So next now, I want to touch upon the elements in context to the tarot, specifically with what I term the magicians. Now we have earth magic, we have fire magic, we have air magic, and we have water magic to work with here. And to the four magicians of the elements, this is something I get into further with those that are actually being initiated into the blue flame healing arts and the occult science. With this now, though, I'm going to start with the suit of Pentacles in context to earth magic specifically. And it's the earth element which helps us in understanding the tarot suit of Pentacles because of its grounding energy. And that's the whole thing with Pentacles. It's all about grounding to the earth's core, everything that needs to happen in context to the first phases of initiation. And so this element and suit deal with matter, deal with the physical universe itself specifically, and everything to do with material concepts such as the body, the home, your finances, physical things that all fall under the same element or the same suit here in context. So considering the tactile manner of the suit itself, the things that you can feel, the things that you can taste, the things that you can touch, the things that you can see and experience, are all basically dancing within these cards specifically. It's to ask yourself, what is my material gain here? And anytime Pentacles comes up in study, or when you're doing a reading, or if you're doing divination on yourself, it's the element that is trying to get your attention. And see, the way that it works is different with everybody depending on other factors that need to be lined the fuck out in context to the proper foundation of initiation into the occult. What is the practical application here in context to earth magic? Because earth magic is all about practical magic. And this is what the Pentacles is. What is it that you can barter? What is it that you can purchase? What is it that you can obtain? What is it that can be physically fixed or healed? This is another aspect with Pentacles. What is it that appeals to the tactile senses, the five senses, that you have to fucking master, by the way, because most people are just privy to the five physical senses. They are a slave to the five physical senses. What is it that appeals to your sensuality? Learning how to master indulgence instead of it turning into compulsion and addiction. These are all earth-based related questions that are going to assist your interpretation of the Pentacles here specifically. Again, this is everything to do with the earth element, and has everything to do with the physical universe here in Midgard. Its correspondences going a little bit deeper are security, stability, resources, strength, balance, foundation, health, prosperity, protection, growth. Again, it represents the solid matter and the sustaining aspects of nature. Okay, this is your physicality. And of course, wisdom when it comes to learning how to truly master and manifest these things here in our reality field. How to work with earth magic specifically. Next element I'm going to get into is the suit of wands. The tarot suit of wands corresponds with the element of fire. And just as fire conveys heat, passion, ignition, and consumption, so too does the suit of wands. You know, consider the enthusiasm that this actually represents. The creative sparks, the spiritual passion, and social vitality are all key messages with the wands. And so when connecting with the element of fire, you gotta ask yourself, what the fuck is it that lights your fucking fire, yeah? What is it that lights that fire under your fucking ass when you need it? You know, what is it that really ignites your fucking passion in life? What is it that warms your heart from the inside out? What are the things that consume you? What are the things that you are obsessed with? See, these are all the things that the great fire are to do with. In relation to the questions that clarify what wands actually represents. It is everything to do with the correspondence of creation and destruction at the same fucking time. Fire was the very first element that sprang forth out of the primordial womb of Ginnungagap. And so this element, fire, is everything to do with force, it's to do with power, it's to do with ownership, it's to do with influence. On the inverse, it's the fucking crux of domination and control, which is everything to do with limitation, strife, conflict, upset, chaos, pain, sorrow, anxiety, fear, imbalance. All of these things are there also with the fire element, especially in context to the blackening stage of the alchemical initiation. The fire of the Athanor will bring you into the phases of calcination and putrefaction, where all the things I just mentioned do come up into waking consciousness. Fire is also everything to do with the will, which is also to do with the ego. And see, again, I am not a teacher that dispenses with ego. Ego needs to be mastered in alignment with heart core intelligence, in trajectory with the output frequency of sound, consciousness, energy, frequency, and vibration when it comes to your thought and emotion. And we also need to master certain destructive aspects of nature within the Athanor of initiation that will potentially take over the individual through the process of initiation in context to whatever is going on there within the unconscious, subconscious mind field. And if you're not willing to work to master the fire element in the blackening stages of the alchemical initiation onto the true magical path, see, there's a warning that comes with all of this. Because once the process takes you, it's going to fucking take you. And so when wands come up in a reference for me, it's important to note, along with all of the other elements, that it's the element itself trying to get your attention. And so here, in context to the ego, is your will being driven by the true core essence and the fire that is there within your core? Or is it the false fire of the shadow that is driving the will force of the individual? To which all of these things need to be considered if any wands reveal themselves to you. And taking it deeper on an esoteric level, along with working to how they are revealing themselves to you. It's to note that it's to do with the mundane and also the esoteric at the same time. And this is in context to getting cards that are upright versus cards that are reversed. And so there's many, many different ways of interpreting. There's many, many ways of looking at these things. And all needs to be considered, especially when you're working with the tarot in the fashion that I am getting at here. For again, we are both the light and the darkness. And it is the light of the wands of fire that is that light shining within the darkness of your ignorance that needs to be embraced. But next, I'm going to get into the Suit of Swords. And with that, we're going to take another break now. This is Seth Kispoza, Black Earth Productions. I will be right back. We are back now from the second break of this segment. Again, I'm going to encourage you to check out the website at blackearthproductionswithaz.com. Check out our services page in context to the full pack initiation, which I'm going to encourage anybody out there that has not done this with me yet to line things the fuck out. Because there is where I'm really going to be able to break down this art and science with you in context to the unique path work that you are meant to be on as an individual when it comes to all of these arts and sciences. So in light of everything, as I continue with this segment, Swords is the air element and corresponds to the Suit of Swords in the tarot because it cuts right through the clutter and gets to the instigating thought of reality. And just as swords can be at odds to the conflict between the hardcore intelligence and the brain field specifically, this is where the battlefield of the mind is taking place in context to the unconscious, subconscious mind field. Now see, this is a lot to get into and really unpack. And in light of everything I'm getting at here, again, it is highly, highly unique to the individual how all of this fucking works. And the way that it works for you is definitely not the same way that it works for me. And see, it's to recognize that thoughts are the domain of the air element. Now, why is this? Because it is the air which holds the unseen. And the swords point a sharp fucking tip to our fears, to our worries, to our doubts, to our insecurities. All of these things that also come up with fire. So again, it's to recognize that all of these elements are ebbing and flowing and moving and warping and turning and spinning upon the 3 spirals of creation. It's not to compartmentalize fucking anything. You only compartmentalize shit when you get into self-study to see specifically what is going on with the elements here in context. One way of looking at this is the double-edged sword, which is to do with the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. It is reflecting that dual aspect that we have to deal with within ourselves. And see, you always possess the potential to be of 2 minds, okay? And the goal here, especially with the brain field, is to become whole-brained. This is where thought and emotion are in operation in context to the air elements specifically, which is to do with your intelligence, it's to do with your intellect. And every thought and emotion that you have is going to have its equal and its opposite in trajectory all at the same time. And so when connecting with the element of air, with the suit of swords, you need to study the double-edged nature of the swords and ask yourself how you can cut through the mist and gain clarity when it comes to thoughts specifically. Some other correspondences for the suit of swords and the air element are everything to do with movement, change, swiftness, flow, action, ideas, communication, liberation. Swords is the ever-changing quality of nature. It is the spirit. And of course, everything to do with the mind field, learning how to master thought specifically. And this is what the ace of the suit of swords dives deep to in context to the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind field. And cuts straight to the fucking point when it's this element working to get your attention. It can get very, very, very fucking dark if left unchecked. Especially getting into the higher suits of the swords. Those aren't good fucking cards. They do reveal a lot, but if they do come up, you got some serious fucking shit going down. In context to the unconscious, subconscious mind field. This is what is going to come up to alchemical initiation. And learning how to master the elements, specifically, needs the proper knowledge and wisdom of the High Priestess. Now, if you make ritual out of going into these things willingly, this is where you are truly going to start tapping into the power of the air elements with the swords. And the higher up you go and study with the symbolism and archetypes of these cards specifically, it is the winds of air that will take you into the temple of the air magician. And listen, if your wings are not strong enough, you are going to potentially be ripped and torn to fucking shreds. Otherwise, these are the winds which will force you to sharpen and give strength to your wings. And sharpen your swords and sharpen your true hardcore intelligence to which the intellect needs to be in alignment with. Now the last element I'm going to get into here now, of course, is water and is the suit of cups. So cups, what does cups represent? Here it's to consider its depth, its vast mysteries, and is basically able to take on the shape of whatever contains it. Water has everything to do with emotion, has everything to do with intuition, and it's to note that our intuition runs far, far fucking deeper than what is actually perceived. And our emotions run just as fucking deep. Now, in context to the water magician of the elements, I am a master water magician. And so learning how to master my emotion in context to magic, which is where we get our true magic, is with emotion, with the water elements. Water is able to pierce the reality field unlike any other fucking element. And so also, like water, our emotions can carve great canyons within the landscape of our lives. And there's no denying emotion here in context to this pathwork. In fact, it's all about learning how to master your emotion. And when you learn how to master the water element, this is where you are going to start learning how to master the magic of the magicians of the elements. It starts with water. And you know, in light of this, there's no stopping the fucking hurricane. There's no stopping that fucking tidal wave from coming at you. There's no stopping the explosion of the wellspring of the well of Urd once it is tapped into from within yourself. And when working with the suit of cups, anytime it comes up in a reading, it is the water element being addressed. And so everything to do with emotion, everything to do with magic, all goes back to water. The astral itself has been termed by many, many great magicians of the past as the astral ocean. So it is to ask yourself, what deep emotions are running through you right now as you're listening to me speak? How does your intuition flow when looking at the Suit of Cups? Many of the correspondences with water are indefinitely to do with magic. They're to do with creativity, joy, inspiration, love, passion, compassion. Okay, this is the soul. Water is to do with the creative and nurturing aspects of nature. And of course, is everything to do with emotion, which again, I will continue to state over and over and over again until you can't fucking stand it, is where we get our magic from, in alignment with all four elements, including the fifth, which is your eternal spirit. And so now that I've gotten to the elements in this segment, I'm going to go back and go a little bit deeper, getting into some things I started explaining about what is going on with the tarot. Now, in light of the first 10 cards of the major arcana, 0 through 9, this in short is the path to self-mastery. And like I explained, once the cards reach 9, they spiral out onto the bridge, onto the galactic spiral of creation, and then collapse back in on the spindle of the energy force itself. With the first 10 cards, 0 through 9, with other corresponding cards in trajectory, which move out into the rest of the major arcana, and of course with the minor arcana. So even if an individual ever actually reaches the summit of self-mastery in their lifetime, it's only then that the quest has truly begun. And some of us here in Midgard are masters from previous incarnations, working to refine our craft before we take things to the next levels in life, because everything else up until these points we are in right now in trajectory to navigation has only been training for most that are now in the position to graduate here and move into what you are truly here to unfold, mastering your existence here in Midgard. But see now, how does one actually come on to the true magical path? Does one simply study the tarot, thinking that they're going to come into trajectory to what I'm getting at here? The answer to that question is an absolute astounding fuck no. Because coming onto the true magical path is going to unfold a series of events and experiences in your life that you probably aren't even going to fucking recognize are happening. And so in light of what the first 10 cards of the major arcana illustrates, it gets really, really fucking interesting. But looking at the art in context to symbolism and the archetypes of the tarot, looking at it and studying it is not the same as living it. I'm talking about living this art and science. It is a living art. It is a living science. And see now, if you are, and you have been initiated onto the true magical path, your experience coming into all of this at first is going to essentially rip and tear your life to shreds before you actually wake the fuck up, coming into recognizing what is actually going on. Again, I am speaking from personal experience here to what I am getting at. But I know for a fact that there are some of you out there, even new listeners that may be listening to what I'm saying, hearing what the fuck I'm getting into right now, that are starting to recognize certain things in context to a lot of what I've gotten into, not just in this segment, but going back and listening to other things I've presented in context to everything. Because everything going on in our reality field is absolutely all intertwined. Many seem to seek to want to get into the occult and get into magic. And that's one of the major purposes as a charge from the ancestors themselves for me to create this mystery school again here in our reality field. In order for individuals that are ready for this to come into and to learn what the fuck is actually really going on and learn about how things actually work here in our reality field within the 3 spirals of creation. And there's a major difference between the real and the counterfeit in context to all that I am getting at here. And so now that I kind of recapped on what I was getting at there, what I want to move further into now in light of the elements is the concept of elemental command. For when an individual comes onto the true magical path, you are going to go through many, many different levels of initiation in context to self-mastery. Mainly here with the magicians of the elements themselves. And it is their position to assist the neophyte in re-encrypting the physical body on an atomic and subatomic level with the elemental, multidimensional, and chemical constituents of our DNA resolution as the elemental and fundamental base foundation. Our physical bodies here in Midgard are in fact elemental bodies and are comprised of these 4 base level chemical constituents in context to the 4 elements. And also again with the 5th element, which is everything to do with your eternal spirit. And if we learn how to remember how to master the 4 elements given over to our personal trajectory and system mechanics in context to how we are meant to be working and master these elements as individuals, it's to note again that the way that it works for you is not the same way it's going to work for somebody else. It's all going to come down to a personal pathwork and a personal gnosis in order to truly know the 4 levels of chemical elements that comprise our DNA structure, which here in context are everything to do with earth, air, water, and fire. And it's also to note that the particle elements have gone through more than I can fully say throughout the entirety of human evolution. And lots of distortions in context to what I'm getting at in light of the structure of our DNA symbol codes was originally created on planetary levels. And so it's to do with all of this in that we are interfacing with the planetary body itself, which is a reflection of us as above, so below, as within, as without. And so with the elements, our physical bodies have become quite distorted in the nucleus of the cellular matrix because of the invasion and genetic manipulation throughout the entirety of what has actually taken place, especially in the last 26,000 years. And it's also the fact that for the most part, individuals have not been taught or learned these things about themselves. Although everyone in our reality field, if you got a fucking head on your fucking shoulders, can see the effect of what I'm getting at here. But they still don't know the cause, let alone why. Thus, with the re-encryption process, which was created in light of the eternal axioms in context to the tarot itself, here is where the wisdom councils were charged to come up with a system of learning how to master human consciousness infused with the working of the magicians of the 4 elements. And then, of course, integration of the eternal essence and spirit to soul code essence of the individual who was willing to go through the alchemical process of initiation onto the true magical path upon incarnation. So you need to listen to what the fuck I'm saying. The original purpose of incarnation was everything I just mentioned. You did not incarnate to be a slave. You did not incarnate to live in fear. You did not incarnate to be on the same feedback loops again and again and again and again. No, you incarnated in order to fucking remember. And as the bridge between the solar and the galactic spiral, in light of everything I'm getting into with this segment specifically. And so to become a partaker of upgrading consciousness and life and ways of being and living in our reality field. And with everything that is still going on here in these moments, the human vessel is still not going to be able to transmute through enough levels of karma and willful ignorance that have been encrypted upon on an unconscious, subconscious level given over to the miasma. And denial of personal responsibility when it comes to any of these things, which right now, more than ever, is something that is needed in order to move us through these dense perceptions, so that we are in the position in order to embrace the accelerated frequencies and energies that are ignited from within when having truly been initiated onto the true magical path. And see, how does one actually know the difference whether or not this has actually happened? Again, our pathwork here on Black Earth Productions is the pathwork of wolves and dragons, and it is the dragon luminaries, which is another esoteric term for the elements themselves. Everything I said in context is everything to do with the tritone luminary grid in context to the primordial womb, as I explained in the psychosomatic Northern Soul Complex. They exist as 3 tri-waves merged into one field, with no separation between the elements, while at the same time they are their own essence in creation. So with everything, I'm now going to move into the final phases of this segment and what zero actually is in context to the art and science of the tarot. Now, go back to the first 10 cards in the major arcana, 0 through 9. The first card of the major arcana, as far as I am concerned, is the absolute most important card in the entire tarot. And what the Fool has revealed to me, in light of what I'm going to share with you, are secrets that I have not read in any other reference out there. Now you can take what I'm about to get into and run with it, consider it, reject it, I don't give a fuck, because everything I'm about to share with you is very, very important in light of what it means to come on to the true magical path. It's the Fool. And it's the Fool card from the deck that I use for my personal path work and the readings I do, which is called the Universal Fantasy Tarot. This is where you start. There's no getting past this. If you think you're going to get into magic and the occult without embracing the true mysteries and the secrets of the Fool, then it is forever going to be veiled, and you're not going to see how all of the other cards streamline in context to what I'm talking about here. So the Fool, let's talk about the Fool. Now, in light of planetary correspondence, there essentially is no planetary correspondence for the Fool. But for the sake of planetary correspondence, the planetary correspondence for the Fool, of course, is the Sun. Now, if you look up in the right-hand corner of the Rider-Waite card, you will see the Sun. Now, what does Sun represent? Sun represents what I term the soul spark essence of the individual. It's everything to do with the will, it's everything to do with ego, and it's everything to do with your internal dragon. Again, I am not a teacher that dispenses with ego. Ego is something that needs to be mastered in context to the will force of the individual in alignment, which is where thought and emotion need to come into trajectory with the true hardcore intelligence. Now, in light of the numerology of the Fool card, again, this is card 0. What does 0 represent? 0 represents the circle of the magician, and where you go and you learn how to master drawing the circle. This is the very first thing that people need to start to learn how to master coming on to the true magical path. And in light of what 0 and the circle of the magician is, this is everything to do with the primordial womb. This is everything to do with Ginnungagap. And up in the right-hand corner is that soul spark, is the Sun, is the will, is the ego, is the dragon force, energy of the elements. Now, it's also to know what he is holding in his right hand. Again, we're talking about the Rider-Waite Fool card here. In his right hand, he holds the Wand of Fire. But pay attention to how he is using it. Hell, this motherfucker doesn't even know what he has in his right hand. And what that sack on the wand represents, and what the Fool actually revealed to me, is that this is everything to do with your bag of denial, your bag of fucking bullshit excuses, and is what he is carrying in denial, and pretty much represents the archetype of every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth. Again, he does not even know what he has in his right hand, let alone what he is holding in his left hand, which is the white rose or the white lily. Now see what the Fool card revealed to me, getting into self-study with it, working within the fulcrum of the circle of the magician. When I was tapping into my soul spark, what the Fool revealed to me is that the white rose or the white lily represents dark sorcery. And in some tarot decks, it actually shows the Fool inhaling the pollen of the white lily. So what does he represent? He represents the individual that's been mesmerized, that's been hypnotized, that has been brainwashed, that has been mind controlled. This is all the MK Ultra. This is all the fucking secret space program, my lab bullshit, or however the fuck people want to see things, to the first veil of the lower astral good works, which is dark sorcery. And if you don't know the game, and you don't know the true history, and you don't know what is actually happening in context to what it means to come onto the true magical path, you will inevitably become the archetype of the magician. And that's not anything I'm going to get into with this segment. If you want to go deeper with me, and you want to know the secrets that have been revealed to me in light of how they relate to you as an individual on the true magical path, then the full pack initiation into the Blue Flame Healing Arts and Occult Science is going to be something that you're going to want to grab a hold of and work with me one-on-one to do. Now, going further into the symbolism of the Fool, a lot of people have their interpretations, and listen, there's a lot of different ways to interpret the cards of the tarot. I'm just sharing with you what the Fool has revealed to me. So in light of the wand of fire in his right hand, the bag of bullshit and fucking denial that he is carrying with him, in essence, to what he is holding in his left hand, which is the white lily or the white rose and represents dark sorcery, this motherfucker don't even see that he's about to walk off the cliff in life. He's not in alignment. He still has yet to tap in to the true hardcore intelligence and needs to be ignited for him to come onto the true magical path. But see, you can't even start coming into alignment until you start drawing that circle. This is what zero is all about. Not even seeing the fucking fact that he is so unbelievably far away from the true mountain of initiation in context to the soul spark and how it is actually ignited. For again, one cannot come on the true magical path unless that soul spark essence is ignited by the higher force itself. And symbolism here to the higher force is the white wolf at the feet of the Fool trying to get the motherfucker's attention. Hey, asshole, you're about to walk off a fucking cliff. You see what I'm getting at here? Again, a lot of people want to get into the occult. They want to get into magic, but they're not being guided by the true core essence, and they are not being guided by the higher force. They are being guided by the white lily of dark sorcery. And see, this is also to do with the right hand path. And again, I'm not going to get into the symbolism of the other cards, but this should be enough for you to recognize the importance of what I am saying here, because it is literally illustrated in the tarot. And the tarot is far, far more ancient than you can possibly imagine. So in light of this, in light of everything that I've gotten into with you in this segment, I am once again going to encourage you to check out the website at blackearthproductions.com. Check out our services page. Go through everything and send me an email at blackearthproductions@hotmail.com. Now, with all of this, I'm barely scratching the surface of what the tarot has revealed to me, and there's a lot more that's there within the Fool card that I get into with my initiates. But if you're serious and you really want to know the secrets of the universe and how they pertain to you as an individual, then send me a message and line things the fuck out with me. I hope that you enjoyed this. I have other projects I am working on. There are going to be interviews that you are going to not want to miss. This is Seth Kisboza, Black Earth Productions. I will be speaking with more of you soon.